They were once trusted, respected, even legendary. But today, these motorcycle brands are falling apart, plagued by breakdowns, bad support, and vanishing resale value. We're counting down 7 brands smart riders are walking away from. Stick around for number 1, because that one, it's a disaster hiding in plain sight. Number 7, Suzuki. For decades, riders trusted Suzuki to deliver practical, reliable motorcycles that blended affordability with performance. It was the brand of working-class sport bike riders and budget-conscious tourers, a name that meant solid engineering without the flash. But those days feel like they are long gone. Today, Suzuki is a shadow of its former self, still moving product, but with far less conviction than before. Take a closer look at the lineup, and what you find is not innovation but stagnation. Many of Suzuki's current models still rely on platforms from the early 2000s or even earlier. Their best-selling sport bikes, like the GSX-R series, remain largely unchanged in engine and chassis configuration. Riders are still being sold motorcycles with the same 4-cylinder, 999 cubic centimeters engines introduced over a decade ago, wrapped in slightly updated bodywork and badged as something new. The story is similar on the cruiser side. The Boulevard line, which once carried the torch for affordable V-twin power, now feels outdated compared to what other manufacturers are offering. The M109R still uses a 1,783 cubic centimeters V-twin engine introduced in the mid-2000s. It is a bike with serious torque and road presence, but little has been done to modernize the electronics, improve the ride quality, or elevate its overall refinement. The result is a machine that feels like it belongs to a different era, trying to compete in a world that has moved on. Dealership support for Suzuki has become a growing concern, especially in rural and suburban parts of the United States. While once widespread, Suzuki's dealership network has quietly shrunk. Riders looking for parts, service, or a knowledgeable technician may find themselves driving hours just to reach a shop that still supports the brand. This is especially frustrating considering Suzuki's reliability reputation used to rest not just on good engineering but on accessible maintenance and dealer guidance. Resale value is another red flag. While Japanese bikes are typically known for holding value decently over time, Suzuki bucks the trend. A 3-year-old Suzuki model often sells for significantly less than its Honda or Yamaha counterpart, even when mileage and condition are similar. This weak secondary market reflects both reduced demand and growing skepticism from buyers about long-term part support and model relevance. Even Suzuki's newer attempts at innovation seem half-hearted. The V-Strom 800, powered by a parallel twin engine displacing 776 cubic centimeters, was meant to modernize their adventure lineup. But instead of breaking new ground, it blends into a crowded field where rivals like Yamaha, KTM, and even Triumph have already established more capable and better equipped machines. The pricing may be competitive, but competitive pricing only matters when the product offers something fresh. In Suzuki's case, it rarely does. The bigger issue is cultural. Suzuki no longer seems to understand what its riders want. Its marketing is vague. Its model updates are sporadic, and its lineup lacks any clear direction. Once the go-to brand for budget performance and practical touring, Suzuki now exists in a fog, neither leading nor following, just surviving. And if Suzuki is fading quietly into the background, the next brand on this list is clinging desperately to its image, with far more chrome than substance. If you've ever owned one of these brands, or nearly did, hit like and drop a comment. Your story could save someone from making a huge mistake. Number 6. Harley-Davidson. There was a time when owning a Harley-Davidson meant something. It wasn't just about riding a motorcycle, it was about belonging to a legacy. Riders connected to the sound, the look, the feel, and the brotherhood that came with the bar and shield. But in recent years, that legacy has started to rust. Harley-Davidson, once the undisputed king of American cruisers, is now struggling to find its place in a world that has moved on. Today's Harley lineup still includes the heavy hitters, touring models like the Road Glide, the Street Glide, and the Electra Glide, all powered by Milwaukee 8 engines ranging from 107 to 114 cubic inches in displacement. But the reality is that performance has failed to keep up with price. Riders are being asked to spend over $25,000 on machines that are slower, heavier, and more maintenance-intensive than their competition. And what they get in return is not innovation, but nostalgia. For seasoned riders, especially those who remember Harley's heyday in the 1990s and early 2000s, the shift is painful to watch. The soul of the brand has been diluted. The company's push toward electric motorcycles with the Livewire was less a bold move and more a tone-deaf pivot. It was a product nobody in the core customer base asked for. Meanwhile, the Street Series aimed at younger riders failed miserably, largely because it offered neither the heritage that old-school riders loved nor the modern performance new riders expected. Then there's the heat. Harley's air-cooled engines run notoriously hot in traffic, making urban riding uncomfortable at best, borderline unbearable at worst. Even newer models with liquid-cooled heads or radiators haven't solved the issue entirely. In warmer states, it is not uncommon for riders to experience near-burn conditions during extended stop-and-go rides. Handling in city environments remains another problem. These bikes were made for long, open roads, not for tight corners, quick maneuvers, or parking lot agility. At low speeds, the weight, often exceeding 800 pounds, becomes a serious challenge for smaller or less experienced riders. The balance shifts heavily toward brute force rather than finesse. As for resale value, Harley still commands decent numbers, but that's more due to branding than reality. The resale figures are increasingly propped up by dealership financing tricks and aggressive marketing rather than genuine rider demand. With the core demographic aging out and younger generations uninterested in the cruiser lifestyle, there are fewer buyers to take over used models. As a result, depreciation is starting to accelerate, especially on mid-tier cruisers and discontinued Sportster models. Maintenance costs remain high. Genuine Harley-Davidson parts are expensive, and labor at official dealerships does not come cheap. Independent shops exist, but even they are finding it harder to work on newer Harley models packed with proprietary electronics and complex systems that weren't part of the old-school toolkit. What was once a bike you could fix in your garage now often requires a digital diagnostic tool just to reset a warning light. Culturally, Harley-Davidson has also lost its identity. It tried to please everyone and ended up pleasing no one. The rebel image that once defined the brand has been replaced by marketing jargon and boardroom decisions. Riders who once wore Harley patches like armor now look at the brand with disillusionment. For many, it no longer represents freedom. It represents a corporation that forgot what made it great. But while Harley tries to hold on to tradition, the next brand tried to fake it all together, and failed even harder. Looking to get the most out of your ride without spending dealership money? I've linked my go-to gear and tools below, affordable, proven, and road-tested. Number 5. Genesis Motorcycles. Some brands never recover from a bad first impression. Genesis Motorcycles, a rebranded effort by the Korean manufacturer Hyosung, is a textbook example. On the surface, these bikes promise a lot: aggressive styling, low price points, and performance specs that look decent on paper. But dig even slightly below the surface, and what you find is a machine built on marketing polish, not engineering depth. The problems begin with build quality. Many of Genesis's motorcycles are powered by air and oil-cooled V-twin or single-cylinder engines ranging from 125 to 650 cubic centimeters. These power plants may resemble older Suzuki or Yamaha units in design, but they lack the durability and refinement. Internal components wear prematurely, gaskets begin to leak after minimal mileage, and valve trains fall out of adjustment at intervals far shorter than what most riders expect. In short, these bikes age quickly and not gracefully. Electronics are another sore point. Basic systems such as lighting, ignition, and fuel delivery suffer from erratic behavior. Riders frequently report stalling issues at idle digital speedometers that flicker or freeze, and electrical shorts that appear without warning. The wiring harnesses in these motorcycles are often routed poorly, leading to chafing, corrosion, and long-term shorts that require full system tracing to diagnose. Dealer support is virtually non-existent. While Hyosung once had a modest footprint in the United States, that network has collapsed. As Genesis, the rebranding effort never gained traction, and riders in need of warranty support, technical service, or even basic parts are frequently left to scour online forums and overseas retailers. This leaves many owners in limbo when a repair is needed. Local mechanics may refuse to work on the brand entirely due to poor parts availability or the sheer frustration of diagnosing recurring issues. Even components that appear solid, like the brakes and suspension, are often sourced from budget-tier suppliers. Single-disc front brakes with floating calipers look decent from afar, but deliver inconsistent bite under stress. Fork seals begin leaking within a few thousand miles. Rear shock absorbers fade early, offering minimal rebound control and a harsh ride over broken pavement. These are not isolated issues. They are consistent complaints from real-world owners. Resale value is effectively zero. Once a Genesis motorcycle leaves the dealership, it becomes a hard sell. Most buyers in the used market have never heard of the brand, and those who have usually steer clear. Depreciation is so rapid that a brand new bike priced at $4,000 may struggle to fetch half that within 1 year, even in excellent condition. The combination of poor reliability, minimal support, and weak brand recognition destroys buyer confidence. Genesis motorcycles may attract beginner riders with flashy paint schemes, digital dashboards, and affordable price tags. But what seems like a smart entry point into motorcycling often becomes a cautionary tale. Riders quickly find themselves dealing with unexpected repairs, delays in part shipping, and resale values that make trading up a costly decision. And while Korean manufacturing failed to gain the trust of seasoned riders, the next brand made a very different mistake, selling Italian passion without the reliability to back it up. When it comes to heartbreak on two wheels, Italy does it like no one else. Number 4. Benelli. There's something undeniably alluring about a motorcycle that looks like it belongs in a European showroom. Sleek fairings, trellis frames, and angular bodywork give the impression of precision and pedigree. But in this case, it's all surface and no substance. What was once a respected Italian manufacturer has become a budget-tier brand built for volume, not legacy. And riders are learning the hard way that a historic badge doesn't guarantee a solid machine. These bikes are assembled in China under the ownership of the Tianjiang Group, using mass production practices that emphasize output over detail. The result is wildly inconsistent build quality. Riders have reported misaligned panels, fasteners backing out after short rides, and paint that chips or fades within a single season. Even basic features like turn signals or gauge clusters can fail within the first few thousand miles. Under the bodywork, the mechanical story is no better. Engines used across the line range from 250 to 800 cubic centimeters. On paper, these power plants promise decent output for new and mid-level riders, but throttle response is laggy, and torque delivery feels hollow. Many of these bikes sound aggressive but feel sluggish, leaving riders frustrated when the performance doesn't match the promise. And as the mileage builds, issues like stalling, overheating, or misfiring become more common. Handling is often unpredictable. Suspension components might look fully adjustable, but they ride harsh, especially on the so-called adventure models. The TRK 502, a bike designed to take on rough roads, delivers a choppy and unsettled experience on even modestly uneven pavement. Braking systems look impressive with dual front discs, but lever feel is soft and stopping distances are longer than they should be, especially for a bike in the mid-weight class. What really makes ownership difficult is the support, or lack of it. Many shops will not stock Benelli parts, and some mechanics avoid the brand altogether. Even simple fixes can take weeks if replacement components need to be ordered from overseas. For bikes positioned as budget-friendly, the repair costs and downtime often wipe out any savings. Electronic issues are a constant headache. From flickering instrument clusters to fuel mapping errors, riders find themselves battling bugs that shouldn't exist on a modern motorcycle. These aren't isolated cases either. Owner forums are filled with similar complaints. Inconsistent idle speeds, dead batteries after short rides, and starter systems that grind or fail altogether. Resale value reflects these frustrations. What seemed like a bargain on the showroom floor quickly turns into a tough sell once the warranty ends. Buyers in the used market know what they're getting into, and that means prices plummet. A well-maintained Benelli often struggles to bring in even half of its original cost on resale, and that's if you can find a buyer who wants one. In truth, the Benelli badge doesn't mean what it used to. The Italian DNA is only skin-deep now, with most of the engineering and construction decisions being driven by economics, not excellence. For riders who prioritize long-term reliability, dealer access, and consistent performance, this brand has become difficult to justify. It may look like a premium machine from across the parking lot, but in the saddle it delivers a different story, one of compromise, frustration, and short-lived satisfaction. The next brand on this list doesn't struggle with confusion or identity. Its problem is much simpler. It's just collapsing in plain sight. Number 3. Royal Enfield. Some motorcycles win hearts with their simplicity. They speak to a different kind of rider. Someone who values the feel of an analog machine, the thump of a single-cylinder engine, and the unmistakable silhouette of a bygone era. That's the promise Royal Enfield built its modern revival around. And for a while it worked, but time has a way of exposing the cracks in nostalgia. What begins as charming quickly turns into a chore. The lineup centers around retro-styled motorcycles like the Classic 350 and the Meteor 350. Powered by air-cooled single-cylinder engines displacing 349 cubic centimeters. While the sound and vibration offer a certain appeal at lower speeds, those same qualities become fatiguing on longer rides. Oil seepage around the cylinder head and case gaskets is a common complaint, often appearing before the first 10,000 miles. Even the more powerful models like the Interceptor 650 with its parallel twin engine displacing 648 cubic centimeters are not immune. While smoother than the singles, they still exhibit premature wear in key areas. Clutch fade, loose spokes, and fuel pump irregularities show up far too early in ownership. Electrical systems are notoriously inconsistent. Faulty wiring harnesses, malfunctioning switchgear, and dead battery issues plague owners across multiple model years. Handling feels deliberate and not always in a good way. Front suspension on many models is undersprung, bottoming out on rough pavement or during spirited cornering. Rear shocks, while adjustable in some models, offer little in the way of damping, resulting in a ride that's more rigid than refined. Braking systems, particularly on the single-disc front setups, lack the bite and confidence most riders expect, even in the entry-level segment. Dual-channel anti-lock braking systems are offered, but they're known to engage inconsistently on wet or uneven surfaces. Quality control remains the brand's biggest hurdle. Paint thickness varies noticeably between models. Welds around the frame and swing arm show signs of cost-cutting. And simple components like foot pegs, mirrors, and clutch levers often feel flimsy, requiring adjustment or replacement sooner than expected. The finish might be photogenic, but it doesn't hold up to the demands of regular riding, especially in varying climates. Then comes the issue of distance. Royal Enfield motorcycles are great at short, scenic rides, especially around town or through twisty rural roads, but stretch a trip past 100 miles and their flaws start to surface. Saddle comfort is minimal. Vibration increases substantially at sustained highway speeds, and reliability begins to fall off a cliff. For riders who plan to cover real ground, these bikes turn into a maintenance project rather than a touring companion. Resale value reflects the brand's limitations. Despite a dedicated following, the used market treats these motorcycles with caution. Many sellers struggle to get fair offers, even for lightly used models with upgrades. That's not a reflection of taste. It's a reflection of long-term confidence. Buyers may love the style, but they know what they're getting into. What was once endearing is now simply outdated. Royal Enfield offers a ride experience frozen in time, one that too often leaves the rider behind. And while this brand struggles to grow beyond its roots, the next one never even got a foothold in the future. Number 2. Ural. There's something undeniably intriguing about a motorcycle with a sidecar. It conjures up images of open landscapes, rugged independence, and a kind of utilitarian charm that feels ripped straight from a black and white war film. And that's exactly where Ural comes from. Its origins trace back to World War II, when the Soviet Union reverse-engineered a German design for military use. 80 years later, that same DNA still defines the brand. But what once served soldiers on the front lines now leaves modern riders stranded at the side of the road. The current lineup includes models like the Gear Up and the CT, both powered by air-cooled two-cylinder boxer engines displacing 749 cubic centimeters. While the design is classic and the torque delivery is manageable, the real-world performance is underwhelming at best. Acceleration is sluggish, top speed barely clears 70 miles per hour, and the engine runs rough even after proper break-in. It's a motor that belongs to another century, and not in a charming way. Mechanical reliability remains the brand's Achilles heel. Even with production shifting to Kazakhstan in recent years, the bikes continue to suffer from oil leaks, warped clutch plates, and weak final drives. The gearbox is clunky and prone to missed shifts. Some owners report drivetrain failures within the first 5,000 miles. And because of the sidecar configuration, many of these issues are more difficult and expensive to repair than they would be on a conventional two-wheeler. Suspension is laughably outdated. The telescopic front forks and twin rear shocks may look appropriate for the style, but their real-world performance is harsh and underdamped. Sidecar handling is tricky even in ideal conditions. On uneven terrain or in poor weather, the entire setup becomes twitchy and unpredictable. Electronics are primitive and poorly sealed. Wiring harnesses are known to corrode. Ignition systems fail after riding through rain. Turn signals and brake lights cut out without warning. And because the technology is both outdated and obscure, diagnostics often require manual inspection, trial and error, and time-consuming tinkering. There is no simple scan tool or standardized repair protocol, just a multimeter, some guesswork, and a lot of patience. Dealer support is nearly non-existent. Ural once had a modest footprint in the United States, but that network has dwindled to a handful of niche shops in major cities. Riders in most regions are on their own when something breaks. And break it will. Parts availability is another sore spot. Wait times for simple components can stretch into months, and if a major component fails, such as the final drive or crankshaft, you may be stuck with a non-functional bike while your order bounces through multiple international warehouses. Even cosmetic elements show signs of neglect. Paint finishes are prone to fading and chipping. Sidecar mounts loosen with vibration. The seat padding compresses early and offers minimal comfort on longer rides. And despite premium pricing, often exceeding $20,000, Ural motorcycles feel more like rugged farm equipment than refined adventure tourers. For all these flaws, some enthusiasts still swear by the brand. They enjoy the mechanical engagement, the quirkiness, and the looks they get rolling into town with a sidecar rig. But novelty wears thin when reliability fails. Long-distance rides become logistical nightmares, family trips turn into tow truck calls, and ownership shifts from pleasure to burden faster than most expect. And now that brings us to the #1 motorcycle brand nobody should still be buying, no matter how rich, romantic, or risk-tolerant you are. Still here? That means you care about buying smart. Subscribe now, because next we're revealing bikes that outperform all the overpriced junk on this list. Number 1. MV Agusta. Few motorcycles turn heads the way these do. Sleek lines, sculpted tanks, underseat exhausts, and paint finishes that look like they belong in an art gallery. MV Agusta has always sold the idea of Italian speed and exclusivity. But behind that polished surface lies one of the most frustrating and unstable ownership experiences in the entire motorcycle world. These bikes often feature high-revving inline-3 and inline-4 engines ranging from 675 to 1,097 cubic centimeters. On paper, they produce impressive horsepower and torque. In practice, they're twitchy, temperamental, and mechanically fragile. Engines are known for overheating in traffic, stumbling during low-speed operation, and occasionally failing under spirited use, all despite regular maintenance and premium fuel. Electronic systems are just as problematic. Riders report dashboard failures, electronic throttle malfunctions, and ride modes that either don't engage or reset mid-ride. Even simple systems like traction control or cruise control have been known to throw fault codes without warning. Diagnostics require specialized tools that few shops have, and updates to software can be difficult to source, even from official dealers. And speaking of dealers, that's a category unto itself. MV Agusta's dealer network is painfully thin, especially in North America. Many owners find themselves hours from the nearest authorized shop, and even those who do live near one often struggle to schedule service or receive parts in a reasonable time frame. Warranty claims are inconsistent. Some are honored swiftly, while others are tied up in red tape for weeks or months. Parts availability is where the brand truly collapses. Many components are back-ordered for weeks, even months. Some owners have waited an entire riding season for a single part. And these aren't obscure pieces. We're talking about standard service items, fuel pumps, sensor modules, and fairing hardware. In certain cases, MV Agusta has even updated parts mid-production, making older components obsolete and replacements incompatible. Cost is another barrier. These motorcycles carry price tags well north of $15,000, with limited edition models creeping toward $25,000 and beyond. That would be acceptable if they delivered consistent quality, but they don't. Maintenance costs are staggeringly high. Oil changes require special tools. Valve adjustments are complex and expensive. Tires, chains, and brake components are priced above premium brand averages simply due to limited compatibility. Ergonomics also disappoint. Despite their aggressive aesthetics, MV Agusta's sport models are often punishing to ride. The handlebars are low, the foot pegs are high, and the seats feel like slabs of carbon fiber. They may look track-ready, but they beat you up after just 30 minutes in the saddle. Suspension settings are stiff, often lacking the compliance needed for real-world roads. Adjustability helps, but few riders will find a truly comfortable setup. And then there's the financial reality. These motorcycles depreciate faster than almost any other premium bike. Despite limited production runs and exotic branding, used models lose 50 to 60% of their value within 2 to 3 years. Reliability concerns scare away even experienced riders, and insurance premiums remain high due to frequent claims and expensive parts. For most, it's a luxury indulgence that quickly turns into a burden. What you're buying is a brand that sells emotion, not dependability. The marketing focuses on heritage, racing glory, and uncompromised style, but the ownership experience is another story. MV Agusta is less a motorcycle and more a passion project gone off the rails. Riders fall in love with the image, but they end up married to a maintenance nightmare. These brands lost our trust through neglect, bad design, or just plain arrogance. But now it's time to spotlight the bikes that quietly deliver everything riders actually want. Go watch our countdown of underrated motorcycles that deserve way more attention. And if this saved you from a regretful buy, like, comment, and subscribe.